All right, picture this. It's February 2026. Pakistan's top generals are huddled in a war room, glued to satellite images of Kabul. And they're facing a problem that is, well, it's just completely insane. They have to figure out how to destroy an enemy that they themselves built from the ground up. This is the story of Pakistan's shocking, full-scale war, but it's not against the enemy you think.
I mean, just listen to that statement from Pakistan's defense minister. This is now an open war. Now, given Pakistan's long and, let's say, complicated history with its neighbor to the east, you'd immediately assume he's talking about India, right? But he wasn't. That threat was aimed directly at the Taliban government in Afghanistan. And that leads us to the central, almost unbelievable question we're going to unpack here. How on earth did Pakistan end up at war with the very same group it trained, it funded, and it propped up for decades? The group that was supposed to be its greatest strategic asset. This is a story of blowback, with a twist that is just staggering. To really get what's going on, you have to appreciate the deep, tragic irony at the heart of this conflict. This isn't just a war. It's like a family feud that has gone horribly, horribly wrong. It's the story of a creator turning on its own creation, with absolutely devastating consequences. And let's be crystal clear about this. We're talking about Pakistan's powerful intelligence agency, the ISI. They were the architects of the Taliban's rise to power. They handed them weapons, cash, and training. They gave their leaders a safe place to hide. And now, they find themselves locked in a brutal, bloody war against them. And who pays the price for this strategic failure? Ordinary people. Every single week, more than 100 civilians are being killed. That's almost 15 people a day. Hospitals are getting bombed, families are being ripped apart. The human cost is just catastrophic. So how in the world did we get here? To answer that, we've got to rewind the clock. We have to go back to the 1990s to understand the big geopolitical idea that set this whole tragedy in motion. To understand Pakistan's thinking, you really need to know this one key phrase, strategic depth. This was the cornerstone of their whole foreign policy. The idea was pretty simple. If they could install a friendly government in Afghanistan, basically a puppet state, they'd have a secure western border and a huge advantage against their number one rival, India. And let me tell you, Pakistan's support, it worked. Oh boy, did it work. In 1994, ISI officers approached a little-known cleric named Mullah Omar and offered him a deal, everything he needed to take over Afghanistan. And in just 2 years, it happened. The Taliban stormed into Kabul and took control of the country. Then 9/11 happens and the whole world changes. Publicly, Pakistan becomes a key American ally in the war on terror. But behind the scenes, it was playing an incredibly dangerous double game, secretly giving safe haven to the very Taliban leaders the U.S. was trying to hunt down. And that deception, it would come back to haunt them in the most violent way imaginable. You see, that double game had a side effect. It gave birth to a monster. The very force that Pakistan had cultivated for its own goals spawned something that would turn right back on its creator. And this is where the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, also known as the TTP, comes into the picture.
So who are these guys, the TTP? Well, the easiest way to think of them is as the Pakistani Taliban. They're ideological brothers with the Afghan Taliban, but they turned on Pakistan, absolutely furious that Islamabad was helping the United States. And now their goal is simple and terrifying: overthrow the Pakistani government and create their own extremist state.
132. Just let that number hang there for a second.
That's how many children, some of them just 8 years old, were hunted down and systematically murdered by the TTP during the 2014 Peshawar school massacre. It was one of the darkest days in Pakistan's history and a horrific reminder of what the TTP is capable of. And when the Afghan Taliban came back to power in 2021, the TTP got a massive boost of confidence. The violence just exploded. As you can see, terror-related deaths in Pakistan nearly doubled in a single year, pushing the country right to the edge.
This surge in violence created a strategic nightmare for Pakistan, a puzzle that seems to have no solution. And why? Well, the reason is both simple and completely insane. Pakistan's biggest enemy is being protected by its oldest friend.
And here's the real kicker. The TTP launches its bloody attacks inside Pakistan and then just retreats back across the border to its safe havens inside Afghanistan, where they're protected by the Afghan Taliban government. It's the exact same tactic Pakistan taught them to use against the Americans. The tables have well and truly turned.
Now, you might be wondering, why doesn't the Afghan Taliban just crack down on the TTP? Well, they're trapped. If they attack the TTP to please Pakistan, they risk thousands of those battle-hardened fighters defecting to their mortal enemy, ISIS-K. They'd be solving one problem, only to create a much, much bigger one for themselves.
With no diplomatic way out, the situation just spiraled. In late 2025, Pakistan, feeling desperate, launched a direct airstrike on Kabul itself. The Taliban hit back hard. Border clashes erupted, and by February 2026, it wasn't a skirmish anymore. It was a full-blown declared war. And this brings us to the devastating conclusion of this whole story. The one great strategic gamble that was supposed to secure Pakistan's future has backfired in the most spectacular and tragic way you can imagine. I mean, let's just go back to the beginning one last time. What was the whole point of this? Why create the Taliban in the first place? It was all about getting that strategic depth against India, creating a loyal ally on their western border.
So what's the reality today? Well, here's the ultimate punchline to this very dark joke. The very same Taliban, the group created specifically to counter India, is now busy signing trade and construction deals with Indian companies. India is now a key partner for the Taliban regime.
So the result? That strategic depth Pakistan wanted so badly? It's gone. Poof. In its place is a hostile neighbor that's actively sheltering Pakistan's mortal enemy. They're left fighting a raging inferno across their border, a fire that they themselves started. Which leaves us with one final and pretty chilling question. After decades of playing with fire, of flawed strategies and unintended consequences, can a country ever really put out a fire that it started itself? And how many more innocent people have to die before we find out the answer?